my friend Mark Prevatil. We are in Chili's. We are in Phoenix, Arizona. There are no quiet places in life, huh, Mark? So I'm like, let's just do it. So Mark will project. And I asked Mark if he'd share some of his stories. We only have a few hundred together, me and you, somewhere in that area. So Mark said he would share a couple of stories and things that are on your heart now. I think they're really prevalent for the times that we're living in, especially right now. So we'll let Mark just share what he has on his heart, some things that have happened between us. And again, I think Mark, I met you maybe 2011 or 2012, somewhere in that area at your church. And that's a whole nother story. But there's some things that have happened or whatever that kind of like were trigger points or points that took things to another level for you, maybe in our relationship, or especially what God has asked you to do.
Right.
Yeah, because your life and your walk into obedience isn't new, but sometimes He's stretching you to do something different. Can you tell me about one of those things, maybe?
Yeah, what comes to mind is the year 2018. It was January, and I was having a men's breakfast at Denny's. And the Lord had impressed me that day to give Bobby some money. But I only had $500 cash, and I had about $37 in my business account. At the end of the year, we tried to buy things to keep our taxable income down, but I overshot it a little bit. So the Lord's impressing me to give Bobby a couple $100, and I'm thinking like, well, I can do that because I have $500 cash, but maybe he doesn't need that much. So I was reminded of the fleece before the Lord. So I thought, I'll just ask Bobby how much he needs. Maybe he only needs 100. So Bobby, how much money do you need? He says 200, a couple hundred would be great. So it's like, where do you go from there? I mean, you have the impression and he's telling you the same number. So I handed over $200 cash to him. And I didn't feel bad about it because I felt the Lord had impressed me to do that. So I went to a service call I had that day, and I started on the service call. And as I'm going about, the owner says, how much would it cost to replace these 2 units? And the total job was going to be $14,000. And one thing I haven't mentioned is my son came back from California at the beginning of January to work with me. So now I had 2 people working with me, and that's not good when you only have that much money in your account. So we did the job for $14,000. We did that in 1 day. And that was more gross money that I did the whole month of December for the business because it had been a slow year. So the moral of the story, I don't even want to go there. If I didn't give Bobby the $200, would I or would I not have had the job? I'm not going to even go there, but it is important to be obedient. So the story gets better. So through the course of the year, the Lord led me to 5 other people, and including Bobby got a truck that year, to at least a minimum of $5,000 to help buy a vehicle. All told that year, I helped people with $60,000. Now to put that in perspective, I think I did about $150,000 net that year after expenses. And that $60,000 that I gave to people, I did not deduct that from my income. That's money that the Lord impressed me to do. And at the end of that year, Encounter AZ got 5 air conditioning units, which helped my bottom line. They bought 5 units. We did that job in 1 day as the Lord helped me to orchestrate that. So it's one of those things like where in the Old Testament they would make the little rock structure or something to remember. So this is something that I remember when the Lord asked me to do something. Because it's not always convenient, it's not always comfortable, but I know that I know when the Lord's asking me to do something. So the last part of this is, how do you know the Lord's speaking to you? The best way that I can describe it, I've never heard the Lord in an audible voice, but it's like an impression, like you're going down the road and like, oh yeah, I got to stop and get some bread. My wife asked me earlier to get a loaf of bread. So it's a thought that comes to me, and it's so instantaneous, and I just know that it's God because I'm not even thinking about anything, and God downloads it instantaneously. I have other stories, but that's good for now.
Mark, I want to thank you for that because it's like you said, that was a pivotal time that so many things changed. It was an act of faith on your part, but you were living that life already. You were helping people, you and your wife, as the Lord will lead you and tell you.
Right.
You know, in the church and out of the church.
Yes.
Right? In so many different ways.
Yes.
But that point, especially what I was going through or whatever, I desperately needed that. And so that was an answer to prayer. So over the years, we've been friends, and you've helped me to plant seed all over this country in various ways. And I know every time that you did that, it stretched you. So sometimes people say, well, it must be easy for you just to go ahead and do it. But like you've told me many times, you still have to fight flesh sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And you say, you know what, Lord? Really? You really want me? But then you've been blessed, and I've been blessed to see so many of the outcomes from the acts of obedience.
Yes.
And some people might say, well, are you trying to get money? Are you trying to get whatever? No, I'm trying to tell you true stories of people that hear from God and responded. And I've seen that in your life and your wife's life, helping others way outside of me. And just seeing the faithfulness of God over and never not. Right? Never not favor. And sometimes you think, well, when is the return? Well, the return might be we're all gone, and it comes to your kids, your grandkids, and others that you help.
Right.
So that's why, you know, I wanted this today just to share that story, because you said everything changed from that point on, and it opened up a door. You know, and resources in your life, and you could have easily just said, as those resources came, say, I'm just going to sit pretty now. You know, but you told me this. You said, how's your 401K doing? And I always thought to myself, what's he talking about? I'm a missionary evangelist. I don't even have a 401k or anything. You said, no. How's your 401K-INGDOM account?
Right.
And that's stuck with me. That's stuck with me all these years. How's your eternal portfolio?
Right.
How's your investment?
Yes.
And I've watched you over and over, Mark. And I've watched you be stretched. And I love the fact that you don't move unless God tells you. And even if we do err, I'd rather err on the side of God than do nothing. You know, and I've done that. Right. You've probably done it once or twice too.
Oh, yeah.
Out of our compassion, our zeal.
Right.
But God still honors that because He knows where our heart is. So I want to thank you for the time. Thanks for lunch. Cass Denny's got her own table over there. Look at Cass. Happy camper. Look at that. Sticking her tongue out at us. There you go. More to come. So the journey for the King, heading to up north, and then heading to Texas next week. More stories to come. Thanks for Mark, and thanks for the people at Chili's. The food is here. We got to go.